Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. Helen, thank you so much. Thank all of you. It's a real pleasure to be here with you this morning. Can you hear me okay? Is this, yeah? Well, great. Delighted to be here. You've got a interesting, lively, and friendly group, and it's a pleasure to see you this morning. As Helen mentioned, I'm not a native Californian. I am from the great state of North Dakota. Back there, do you see the slides on the screens in front of you? Is that how this works? This is a beautiful room. What a great facility. Well, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, this is where I'm from. This picture was actually taken in 1997, and it was taken in the town of Grand Forks. You can see the sign up there in the upper right that says Grand Forks. That's where I went to college, and during 1997, that was a year, one of the years I was the state insurance commissioner. And it was a horrible winter, and I realized that it's kind of hard to imagine what this is like down in this beautiful part of the country. But winters can be long and tough in North Dakota. In 1997 was a horrible winter. We had more snow than we ever had before. It stayed cold longer than it ever stayed before. And the spring sort of forgot to show up. And so February gave way to March. This blizzard was in April. And that's a problem because you know sooner or later that all the snow is going to melt. And if it doesn't start melting gradually but waits until the very end, then you got a problem, which we had in 1997. So the cities all around the rivers began to prepare for what was known to be the coming record flood. And in the end, those efforts weren't quite enough for the city of Grand Forks. So this is Grand Forks. The city was entirely flooded. And entirely evacuated, a town of 55,000 people, which in North Dakota is a good-sized community. At the time, it was the largest evacuation of an American city since the Civil War. And I was the state insurance commissioner, and so we were busy. And we tried to do what we could to help people kind of get through this crisis and recover. If they had insurance, we were doing everything we could for them. But this episode in my life taught me a very valuable lesson of what happens if you don't have adequate financial protection. For our major asset in life, our homes, far too many people in Grand Forks didn't have flood insurance. And in the end, they were left entirely on their own. And it taught me the importance of how an insurance mechanism that plays such a vital role in protecting the security of a family. And it's ultimately what led me down the path that brought me to California years later. Whoever said yay, I agree with. We love, my family all moved out here with me. We love California. It's an absolutely beautiful state. But we need to face facts because it is a state that has plenty of earthquakes as well. California is home to 2/3 of the nation's earthquake risk. It's amazing. 2/3 of all of the seismic risk in this country, right here in California. So the reason why I'm so grateful to be here today is because there are 5 things I'd like to go over briefly in terms of what I hope you will come to know about earthquake insurance. 5 important things for you to know as you're dealing with your customers and helping them move into their next home. 5 things you need to know so that you can know that your customer will remain safe and secure, not just physically but financially, after they make that lifetime investment. First of all, it's important to realize the risk is real. And I'm sure you've all felt earthquakes. You probably have all felt earthquakes relatively recently. But it is important to recognize that it's not just shaking that occurs elsewhere. The risk can be just as real under our feet, especially in this part of the state. So as I mentioned, California is home to 2/3 of the nation's earthquake risk. Scientists all say there's a 99.9% chance of a 6.7 earthquake or greater occurring somewhere in California sometime in the next 30 years. Why do they say 6.7? Well, that's what their studies focused on, because 6.7 was the size of the Northridge earthquake that occurred back in 1994. It's going to happen again. Count on it. It's a certainty. Don't know exactly where or when, but it's going to happen. So it's worth just spending a second then saying, okay, well, what if Northridge were to happen again today? Same location. Bring that earthquake forward now 23 years. What if that happened again today? What would the financial consequences be? A reoccurrence of the Northridge earthquake in today's world would cause $75 billion in losses to homes, to residential damage. That doesn't count hospitals and bridges and roads. This is $75 billion where people live. And this is from the experts, the modeling, the seismic experts tell us this. Of that $75 billion, only $7 billion is insured today. Someone was asking me beforehand how many homes are insured in California, and the number is very low. Only 10% of all the homes, roughly, have earthquake insurance. We have to change that. This is a horrible number. It would be devastating to the economy of this region to have so much uninsured loss. $68 billion in uninsured losses. We need to listen to the experts. I don't know if you remember this article from a few months ago, but a leading seismologist down here in Southern California said that the southern San Andreas fault is, in his words, locked, loaded, and ready to roll. We need to look back through history and remind ourselves what happened in San Juan Capistrano, in Long Beach, in San Fernando, in Pasadena, in Northridge, Chino Hills, and La Habra. All around us are reminders that earthquake risk is real. We don't need to live in fear about it. We just need to be prepared. And if we're prepared, we're ready for what's going to happen. And that's the thing that we need to focus on. Most Californians live within 30 miles of an active fault, but 90% don't have earthquake insurance, so we have to change that. The risk is real. But so too is the benefit of earthquake insurance. Now more than ever, the benefit of earthquake insurance is real. But there are some myths, some misunderstandings, and some myths that are common that we need to sort of help people get over because they're preventing them from becoming prepared. What are some of those myths? Well, many people think, oh, I don't need to be prepared. You know, the government will take care of me if it's bad enough. That's what a lot of people in Grand Forks thought in that flood picture that I showed you. They didn't buy flood insurance because they thought the government would bail them out. But the government doesn't come in and rebuild homes. There are some federal funds that may become available, but they're limited. FEMA comes in, and you stand in a line and you fill out an application, and if you're eligible, you get some limited assistance for urgent health and safety needs. But the maximum FEMA grant is $32,000, and it's not enough to rebuild the homes, and it's not available to rebuild homes in the first place. The average FEMA grant is about $7,000. So people who think that they don't need to be personally responsible for their financial future are living on false hope if they're thinking the government's just going to come in and rebuild their home for them. There might be a loan that they could take out, put another mortgage on top of their existing mortgage if they can swing that, but that's not financial protection. A lot of people still think that earthquake insurance might be covered in their homeowners policy. Well, they're wrong. It's been specifically excluded from the homeowners policy since 1984. A separate earthquake insurance policy is required in order to be covered for shake damage that'll be caused by the next damaging earthquake. A lot of people think earthquake insurance isn't worth it. It costs too much, or it's got that high deductible they've heard something about, and the coverage isn't broad enough. Well, those are myths too. Now this nonprofit California Earthquake Authority has redesigned our policy, providing so much more value, and I'll be talking about that in a moment, with now lower rates, a wide range of coverage choices, all sorts of deductible options. It's a whole different ballgame now than it was, say, 10, 15 years ago. Benefit of earthquake insurance is now just as real as the risk. It's also important, and Helen mentioned this, but it's important to reemphasize the fact that the California Earthquake Authority is a not-for-profit earthquake insurance company. Not-for-profit and insurance company are terms you don't hear in the same sentence very often. But that's what the California Earthquake Authority is. We're not in this to make money for shareholders. We don't have any. We're not in this to send a bunch of money to a corporate parent somewhere. We don't have one. We're in this for our policyholders, That's what we're designed to serve. We were formed 20 years ago. You can follow us at Twitter at hashtag CEA20 because we're in our 20th anniversary year this year. We were formed in the wake of that Northridge earthquake that took place a couple years earlier in 1994. Horrible earthquake. So many of you remember it. Devastating losses, tragic loss of life, and a tremendous amount of property damage. $40 billion worth of property damage that occurred in Northridge, and half of that was to homes, $20 billion of damage to homes in that event. And after that earthquake, most for-profit insurance companies decided they didn't want anything to do with being in the earthquake business anymore. They tried hard to get off of having to offer earthquake insurance. But state law required them to offer a separate earthquake insurance policy if they were going to be selling homeowners insurance. So most companies quit writing homeowners insurance back in the mid-90s because they didn't want to be forced to write earthquake insurance. Imagine trying to sell a home if people couldn't buy homeowners insurance because companies didn't want to be stuck offering earthquake insurance. That was the housing crisis that led to the creation of the California Earthquake Authority by the state of California. So the state legislature got together and they said, we're going to come up with a solution here. And they came up with this unique organization, the CEA. Nothing like this had ever been tried before, but we've been around now for 20 years. And the way we work is companies, we heard from an Allstate agent early this morning, a couple of them. Allstate's one of our member companies. These companies are members as well. These companies represent about 75% of the homeowners market. They all joined the CEA. And then once Allstate's a member of the CEA, as well as these other companies, Allstate can sell the homeowners policy and satisfy the mandate to offer earthquake insurance by offering a CEA policy. So that's how we work. We, the CEA, don't have agents. We rely on the good agents of our good companies. They are in touch with their customers, and they make this product available. But the risk is borne by the California Earthquake Authority. So the CEA, we're this kind of hybrid thing. We're created by the legislature, but we're an insurance company. We operate in a not-for-profit fashion. We're publicly managed. My board of directors is the governor, the insurance commissioner, and the state treasurer. That's who I report to. The two leaders of the legislature serve as non-voting board members. But we're entirely privately financed. There's no state tax dollars that flow through us. We're financed by the policyholders who buy an insurance policy on their home. And together we manage that risk for all of our policyholders for that day when the next big earthquake happens. Our mission is educate, mitigate, and insure. Educate Californians about the risk, help them mitigate by taking steps to make it it's a safer place for them to live, and then provide valuable insurance protection that's affordable because we're operating in a not-for-profit fashion. We have tremendous financial strength, now over $13 billion in claims paying capacity. And I don't know if you can see those events that are on the right-hand side. They represent how much in losses those individual events would be if they were to happen again today. So that San Francisco earthquake that occurred when the A's were playing the Giants in the World Series, that didn't then and wouldn't now produce a lot of residential loss, less than $1 billion. We have obviously plenty of money for that. We have enough to handle a Northridge reoccurrence if it were to reoccur today. For CEA policyholders, we estimate our losses would be about $5 billion. We've got double that in terms of claims paying capacity. We can even handle the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. Financial strength does not concern me. What concerns me is the fact that so many people don't have access to this financial protection, and that's what we're trying to change. So today, the CEA stands before you to say it's not your grandfather's Oldsmobile. We've got so much better coverage options now, and I'm going to describe that for you in the next few minutes. Because we have this public mission, we have since day one worked to make our rates as affordable as possible, lowering them whenever we could. That despite the fact that since we've been in business, overall inflation has gone up about 50%. More difficult for us is the cost to rebuild the homes that you sell if it's destroyed in a catastrophe. those costs have gone up about 170%. The reconstruction costs have gone up 170%. And that's what we insure the home for. So if we were just an enterprise that was content to raise rates whenever the cost to rebuild homes went up, no one would be able to afford earthquake insurance anymore. But instead, we've been able to lower rates, a total of 55% over the last 20 years. As a result, earthquake costs half of what it otherwise would have had we not had this commitment to make earthquake insurance more affordable. We've also worked to improve the value of the policy. Bear with me just 1 second when I describe the basic elements of the insurance policy. This is what insurance companies must offer their customers. When they sell them a homeowner's policy, they must offer them an earthquake policy, and state law says that they have to offer them at least this. This is called the mini policy or the bare bones policy. It's not much by way of benefits, but this is what a company must offer in order to satisfy that mandate. They have to, the basic earthquake policy must cover the reconstruction value of the home. There's $5,000 worth of personal property protection. Not much, one of these nice televisions pretty much, and that's about it. I'll explain how the deductible works in just a second. The basic policy came with a 15% deductible. Loss of use coverage, if you have to live outside of your home while it's being repaired, or the neighborhood is yellow tagged and you can't get in, there's only $1,500 worth of loss of use coverage. So if you got to rebuild your home, hopefully you can find a quick contractor who can do it over a weekend, because that's all the coverage that was there. Yeah, buy a tent. And there was nothing in the original policy available for a mitigation discount. But that was then. That was 20 years ago. Let me show you what changes the CEA has been able to make to the policy, especially this past year we just concluded, because we dramatically changed the game. We still cover the replacement cost of the home, but now personal property coverage, you can choose up to $200,000. A wide range of deductible options ranging from 5% to 25%. Let me spend just a second talking about the deductible, because it's commonly misunderstood. The deductible is basically the trigger. Once met, we can start paying claims. So for the sake of easy mathematics, if you've got a home that's going to cost $100,000 to rebuild, that's the replacement value, and you've got a 5% deductible, and you've got a total loss, we're going to pay $100,000 less the deductible, less 5%, less $5,000. That's how the deductible works. There's no requirement to sit down and write out a check for that 5%. There's no need to come up with that money out of pocket. It's just the trigger that triggers our coverage. And now there's all sorts of choices to choose from. Loss of use coverage now up to $100,000. And something we're very excited about, a 20% premium discount for people who live in an older home that have taken steps to properly retrofit that older home. Older homes are more vulnerable because they were built before building codes got stronger. But now there are ways to go in and retrofit that home and make it safer, and we can now reward them with a 20% premium discount. A couple other things. Our policy comes with $1,500 worth of emergency repairs with no deductible. That came in very handy after the Napa earthquake just a couple years ago, where it was a moderate earthquake, but you still had a lot of windows broken and glass in the carpet, and we could help people get in with $1,500 and no deductible just to get that carpet out and make that place safe again for the kids. Again, there's no requirement that anyone pay for anything out of pocket for the deductible. A lot of people say they don't buy earthquake insurance because they don't know where they'd come up with all that money to pay for the deductible. They don't have to. There's no requirement that there's an out-of-pocket payment made. And loss of use, which is really kind of important coverage, has no deductible whatsoever. So this actually is a decent amount of protection at now rates that are more affordable than ever. So what we'd like to say is now, especially today, Californians, your customers, you as potential consumers, you're in the driver's seat to choose the kind of coverage that meets your own needs and budget. And this is what the driver's seat looks like. It's our website. If you're interested, just go to earthquakeauthority.com, and I would encourage you to spend a moment doing it. We've got our website listed on our brochure, and there's some additional brochures over here on the table for condos, by the way. And if you're interested in more information, see me afterwards. I'll give you my business card. We can stay in touch. Go to earthquakeauthority.com. click on Get an Estimate. Select the kind of policy you're interested in looking into. Let's say it's a homeowner's policy. Click on Homeowners. Need a little bit of information. What year was your home built and that sort of thing. And then you're into the calculator, and you can start making choices. Here you see a policy that this is a screenshot of the calculator that's set up at the mini policy values, where you have a 15% deductible and those other things in that column I showed you a moment ago. But watch what happens. You see the premium is displayed up in the upper right-hand corner. So you got someone who says, I'm willing to pay a little bit more for a lower deductible because I'd like a lower benefit trigger and get my coverage paid with not requiring so much damage. They can do that by just sliding that deductible needle back over to 5%. It increases their premium, but they get more coverage. Maybe they think, oh, that's more than I'd like to pay. Let me see what a 25% deductible looks like. They slide it over to 25%, it lowers the premium significantly, and they can see exactly how much is lowered instantly before their eyes as they're making the choice. Those choices are available not just in terms of deductibles, but all these other coverage options. And by moving through and making selections, they can see what it does to their premium, and they can choose the kind of policy that meets their own needs and budget. So we've just concluded a remarkable year because we rolled out these changes just 1 year ago. Normally, over the last 10 years, we grow about 7,000 policies a year. We end the year with about 7,000 more policies than we had the year before. 2016, we have grown at least 50,000. We can't close the books yet because we don't have all the data in yet. We will in a few weeks, but we're at least 50,000 compared to a normal 7,000, and it's because people are responding to the new choices that are now available. So we're now at 928,000 homes insured. Those are the folks we're going to be focusing on like a laser at the next damaging earthquake, helping them get their life back in order and getting them back on their feet as soon as possible. And people that don't have earthquake insurance are going to be forced to sort of find their own way. They won't have the support of an insurance policy, and they're going to find the government assistance to be disappointing. So I'd invite you all to spend a moment going to the Earthquake Authority's website. If you'd like any of this kind of material to have handy for customers that may be wondering about buying a home, but they know they're in earthquake country and they're wondering what's available by way of insurance, just let me know and we can send you some of these brochures. I want to commend this organization because right after this session today, you're making available, selling some earthquake preparedness kits, which is a wonderful thing for you to do. In these kits, you'll find very helpful bits of stuff to some emergency supplies. I think there's some things to sort of secure frames to the walls and make them safer and that sort of thing. It's a kit that's been developed by the Red Cross, who are experts in preparedness, and I think the partnership with your organization in terms of making these kits available is fantastic. So, with that, I'd like to close and be happy to answer any questions if you have any now, or I'd be happy to stick around for a little bit because I just found out my flight was canceled. I can stay a little bit, yeah. Happy to answer any questions.